Raleigh, North Carolina on Tuesday. We fight back against the General Assembly's attempt to redistrict and steal worker electoral power to support the Mean Tangerine in Washington.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Braxton Winston is a union stagehand with the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, IATSE Local 322. He is also president of the North Carolina AFL-CIO, the state's largest labor federation. Braxton, welcome to the Valley Labor Report. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks for having me, Jacob. And I mean, you did a great job rattling off all those letters and all those facts. It's a great job, man.
Well, I must admit that just before the break, I did accidentally call it the International Association of Theatrical Stage Employees, and my co-host, who is a member of IATSE here in Huntsville, corrected me. So
that's right.
I know that it's the International Alliance, but sometimes I slip up because
there's a lot of letters, man.
Yes,
a lot of letters. Also have to give a shout out to Local 491, which is the film and television local out of Wilmington, North Carolina, which I'm also a member of, as well as IBEW, Local 379. I'm part of our broadcasting unit there. So I've been working in show business for a long time all over North Carolina.
That's incredible. Every now and then you will see somebody who's a dual carder, a member of two unions. My co-host, Adam, is a member of IATSE 900 and CWA 3908, where he works at Alabama Horizon. They're unionized with the CWA. But you do not often meet people who are members of three unions, so that's pretty incredible. Brother, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. You lead a very large labor federation in North Carolina. Represent how many? 100,000 workers? Is that right?
Give or take.
Something like that. So we appreciate your time. I know you're very busy. Can you talk to us about what does it look like to successfully lead a labor federation? Let's just start there.
Luckily, I can speak about successfully leading a labor federation because I grabbed the baton from a very consequential leader in Mary B. McMillan, who was the first woman to lead our federation. And she spent 20 years between this secretary treasurer position as well as the president position. And, you know, what she was able to do was not only get people to understand that we have amazing work going on here in North Carolina, and that it is worth investing in. But she brought attention to the entire American South, right? To make it clear to our movement that if you don't help workers in the American South, you are leaving behind all workers in America. So what she was able to do was strengthen our federation here in North Carolina, continue to grow it, but also make sure that we are moving as a region, because again, collective action is at the root of this movement, and that collective action cannot know borders. So I think that is what a successful president of a state federation looks like, and that has a name, and that's Mary B. McMillan.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I don't live in North Carolina, so I'm sure I don't know as much about McMillan as you do, but I've always heard good things. I have never heard anything bad about Mary B. And, that's not something that you can say about very many people. You know, almost everybody has a detractor, and you usually hear about it. People like to talk smack, and so I have not heard anything about Mary B. And so that speaks greatly to her ability to lead a federation and to unify the labor movement, which is not always an easy thing. There are a lot of different unions and different types of folks in unions across a state, and so to be able to bring all of those folks together, that's a skill. And so you are now leading the state's labor federation after a period of like political activity. You are a city councilor in Charlotte. And you are also the mayor pro tem in Charlotte for some period of time. You were the Democrats' nominee for labor commissioner in North Carolina. And so what made you want to seek this role instead of maybe running again for city council or seeking some other political role or even doing something else entirely? What made you want to lead the state's largest labor federation?
Well, again, I think speaking, this is in reference to the answer that I just gave you. The reason why I decided to take this step or to put my name in the ring was the consequential leadership of Mary B. McMillan. I had decided to run for state office independently of deciding that I had my time in city council was complete. Right, I felt like while there was more work to do, it was time, and I was proud of the policy legacy that I was leaving behind. It was time for me to take a different approach on influencing the system. There is certainly a lot that you can do while you're in elected office, but this is a government of, by, and for the people. So I was looking at a different angles to take. At that same time, the incumbent commissioner of labor was stepping down, so it made a lot of sense to put my name in the hat for that. Ultimately, last November, we were not successful at the ballot box. I received about 47.5% of the electorate's votes, but it was not enough to get me over that 50% threshold, of course. So I started to look at how I was able to, again, influence my community. And I learned a lot while I was in office and on the campaign trail. That civic participation is integral, right? That, again, something that is at the heart of this movement, tying worker power to political power to get things done for our affiliates, but for all workers around North Carolina. So I was putting my plans to do some consulting around public policy and starting a nonprofit geared at increasing civic participation, civic literacy, and civic education around my region and state. A couple of months after November of last year, Mary B started making phone calls around, and I was one of those phone calls. She decided that she was not going to run for reelection, which caught us all by surprise. In the fact that she only spent 8 years in the presidency, 12 years as secretary treasurer, and people in these positions you often stay for a long time, and she could have been in this position for a lot longer. I do believe, but she decided, sort of like I decided when I decided not to run for city council, that her time in this portion of leadership was done, and it was important to pass the baton or pass the torch, whatever metaphor that you want to use, to the next generation. And she called me and she suggested that I consider putting my hat in the ring, that I had the types of qualities that it took to lead this movement, that I understood the connection between public policy as well as the qualities of being from the shop floor, and this was something that she thought the movement needed at this point in time. So I was very lucky at our convention this past September. There was about a 2-hour kind of celebration of Mary B's career, where members and leaders from all over the South and obviously a lot from our state talked about the way Mary B was able to, as you spoke about earlier, inspire folks to overcome our differences, to find common ground and work together. She saw things in people across this state that inspired them to kind of think outside of themselves and do more. So Mary B, again, I can't overstate. She saw something in me that honestly I probably would not have considered. Like I said, I was looking at a different road to hoe after the election, and she saw something in me. And as I kind of stepped back and looked at the bigger picture, looked at what was going on in my life, and looked at the type of influence and the type of work that I was doing, workers and worker rights has been my calling card across the entirety of my political career. And the reason why I ran for office in the first place was because of the lessons I learned and the relationships I built working in the labor movement here in Charlotte and North Carolina in the years before that. So, that transitioning of leadership is something that is so important in a movement. And I was grateful to be in this place at the time where Mary B was leading and deciding to move on from that leadership.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
That's incredible. And I am really glad that you recognized the value of the labor movement and like what could be done by having the right person at the head of the labor movement, being the right representative of the labor movement. I find that people, that a lot of people in politics and Democrats included, Republicans hate us, right? Republicans hate unions, and Democrats just kind of see unions a lot of times as, one of many constituency groups rather than, a group that really represents working people in a way that almost no other group can hold a claim to, and that has the capability, the potential to really be a driving force for broader social change to improve our communities and our states and our countries. And so it's good to see. I'm really glad that you kind of came to that conclusion. That's the same conclusion that I came to, 7 or 8 years ago when I decided to spend most of my time in the labor movement rather than doing something else. And so I'm interested in specifically, what are some of your goals as Labor Federation president? I'm not sure how long your terms are in North Carolina, if it's 2 or 3 or 4 years. But at the end of your term, what are you looking for to be able to look back and say, I feel like I've succeeded over the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, and I've done what I set out to do, and I'll maybe run again and then try to build on that, or I would assume that's what you would do, but you might do something else. But what looks like a successful first term for you?
Well, one thing I think I would correct an adjective that you use. I don't know if folks hate the labor movement as much as power is intimidated or fear the labor movement, because I think history shows that when working people organize together and when we are able to move in unison, right, we bring to the table a diverse set of things that we hold dear. Like we mentioned earlier, we have differing opinions on certain things. But when we move together in unison as a union, right, then we intimidate the power structures, regardless of their Republican or Democratic led, or if they're led by a regional power or a corporate power. So, I think is what I used to tell people on the campaign trail, and it continues to resonate, obviously, in this situation. There is nothing more patriotic or American than the idea of a union and our labor movement. It says it right there in the preamble of the Constitution, right? We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, right, do present this Constitution. The Constitution is this collective bargaining, is a collectively bargained contract that doesn't solve all the issues, right? But it protects everybody's rights when we come into conflict, and we sit across the table to try to adjudicate that conflict. That idea is something that toppled empires and kingdoms, and it was a revolutionary and radical idea, over 250 years ago, and it's something that we still a lot of people struggle with accepting, right? That we as a people are commanded here to work together in collective action to take on to implement our agenda. And that really is what my goals over this 4-year term is to how do we further consolidate our movement around these ideas of collective action to support each other across this great state of North Carolina to build upon the wins that we have had over the years, to understand what our hurdles are, to engage our membership, which are our affiliates, as well as our community partners, to really grow this labor movement. Ultimate success for me at the end of our 4 years is if this movement is able to be pushing an agenda, right, and not simply reacting to the things that aim to harm and weaken our movement, day after day, week after week, month after month. And again, that means continuing the strong leadership that I'm succeeding here in Mary B. In terms of keeping our federation at the table and at work to grow that collective action. Today we're speaking here today. I'm about to finish this interview and head on up to Durham, where we're having our worker-led No Kings and No Billionaires action. And then I'm going to go to support our community partner, APRI, which has been integral in helping us to grow this movement. And one of the calls that we're going to have is for everybody to come to Raleigh, North Carolina, on Tuesday, as we fight back against the General Assembly's attempt to redistrict and steal worker electoral power to support the agenda of the Mean Tangerine in Washington. So we want to make sure that we are threading all of these individual actions together to ultimately push the agenda down the line where we are growing this labor movement.
At 41 years old, you are one of the younger state federation leaders. And so as a young labor federation leader myself here in North Alabama with the Central Labor Council, I'm excited to see what your tenure looks like and how it shapes up. And I think that those are really great goals. Having labor set the agenda politically and in our communities would benefit everybody. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that be more of the case in North Carolina. You mentioned the redistricting fight that is dominating the conversation. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that and specifically what's going on in North Carolina and how that fight is shaping up there and how the state federation is responding?
Well, it's a difficult situation because the fact of the matter is that the General Assembly in North Carolina has incredible power over all of our systems by our state's constitution. We have for example, we have one of the weakest executive branches in state government. Our executive branch is actually split into 10 different elected executive positions. So we have, in some senses, our governor's position is split into 10 positions, right? And I think that was intentional, again, to consolidate the power ultimately in the General Assembly. And when it comes down to it, they have the numbers. So it's going to be very difficult for us to stop the President Pro Tem of the Senate, Phil Berger, who is basically what he's doing is doing this redistricting fight to buy the endorsement of Donald Trump in his upcoming Senate race. See, he is facing a primary from his county's sheriff, who is frankly more popular than him in his home county. What we have come to understand here in North Carolina, that our General Assembly members, where a lot of that power is consolidated, those district representatives are not necessarily popular to their Republican constituents statewide. So every once in a while, you'll find situations like this, where a GOP leadership in the General Assembly starts to come under fire in their own house. So they find ways to use the different levers of power that they have to protect themselves and sell out their constituencies. So that's what this whole redistricting effort really is. Here in North Carolina, is Phil Berger's attempt to use his power to try to get an endorsement. And we're going to raise hell. We're going to do everything that we can do to make it uncomfortable for the General Assembly. So we're calling everybody to come to Raleigh, the State House, on Tuesday, October 21st. We believe that's the first day that they're going to start the proceedings. And it will probably be a two-day effort. They have to do it over 2 days by law, but we're going to make it uncomfortable for them. And regardless of the outcome, we are going to again push our agenda to get good people, friends of labor, elected all across this state, and so we can get the political power in the future to prevent things like this from happening.
And while I have you on the line, I would be remiss if I didn't ask about the shutdown. We are now in the 18th day. Obviously, this is having an increasing impact every day on workers in North Carolina, across the South, and across the country. What is the North Carolina AFL-CIO's position on the shutdown, and how are you communicating that with your elected representatives in the House of Representatives and the Senate?
Well, again, kind of talking about what you mentioned earlier, the labor movement mirrors politically the communities that they can't come from. So, my membership are Republicans, Democrats, unaffiliated, and everything in the middle there. So when the shutdown happened, I went to my membership to ask them, okay, what is the best way we can support you in this? And what message can I amplify when I'm on platforms like this? And their message was clear. Federal workers are tired of being in the bullseye and treated as political pawns by this Trump White House. They are suffering from PTSD from months of rifts and layoffs and seeing their collective bargaining rights stripped away because of the Trump administration's political gamesmanship. So their message was clear to me, to tell the Democrats in Congress to stand firm, to don't give in to the Trump White House, to tell them to get into a room, do their job, put working people first, fund the government, and fix this healthcare crisis. So that is the message that we are saying loud and clear, and we're making sure we're in constant communication with our AFGE locals and our NNU locals that are the predominantly representing federal workers or federally adjacent workers here in North Carolina. A lot of people here in North Carolina have still been at work. But this week is when they're hitting those less than full paychecks or those zero paychecks. So we're figuring out ways that we can mobilize to support those folks, like our TSA agents, our air traffic controllers, our EPA workers who keep our air safe, who keep our waters safe, keep our food safe. And we're doing things. My TSA president asked me if we have room in our House of Labor, in our headquarters in Raleigh, to store food. So that they can run a food pantry if needed, because those TSA agents are at work but can't afford to feed their families. So we're listening to our workers and amplifying whatever messages that we have from them. We have a letter. I can give you guys the link, and we're asking people to sign it. We're sending it to Congress, all our entire delegation, with that clear message: put workers first, end the shutdown, fund the government, and fix the healthcare crisis.
We've been talking to Braxton Winston, president of the North Carolina AFL-CIO, a member of IATSE Local 322, and 2 other unions. Braxton, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We really appreciate it and look forward to getting that letter.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Look forward to coming back.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.